So let's now start with JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Now, what is a JSON? See, first of all, let's understand. With one diagram. Let's try to just explain to you. Whenever we exchange data from a Salesforce to any third-party system, this is something called as call out. Call out. So, what does the call out means? Call out means you are trying to send some data. You are trying to send some data from the Salesforce organization to any other third-party organizations. Okay. And on the other hand, if you are receiving if you are receiving some of the data and you are storing it inside the Salesforce organization in some object in some record, then what this when we are receiving the data, when we are receiving the data, that is something called as call in. Okay, call in. So these are two of the terminologies that are frequently used during the integration: call out and call in. Whenever from the Salesforce, if we are sending the data to any third-party system, then we generally call this process as what? Call out. Sending of data is something called as call out. And from the Salesforce, or rather from the third-party system, if we are receiving the data and we are then storing it inside any of the object, for example, account object, contact object, or rather into any of the custom object. Now this process, when we are receiving the data from third-party organization and we are storing it into the Salesforce, this is something called as call in. Call in. So now whenever you are either performing call out or either you are performing calling, that means either you are sending the data or you are receiving the data. So there are two popular formats for that. The first is JSON, which is the most popular format, and the second is XML. The second is XML. Now XML we generally don't prefer it nowadays. The reason XML is kind of heavyweight. It consists of so many different formats, and it requires more amount of bytes to be get transferred. Whereas this JSON is very lightweighted, and this is the most popular way. This is the most popular notation. This is the most popular kind of language. This is used for APIs. This is which is used for the APIs. Whenever we write down any API stands for Application Program Interface. That means for that call out and then for call out or for call in. Whenever either of the operation or both operation you are performing, what you require to do, you require to write down the custom logic, custom classes. That classes comes under the category of API. That classes comes under the category of API. So what does API means? API is that way, application program interface. API is that way, that program, that business logic with which we can perform the integration, with which we can integrate Salesforce with some other third-party systems. So whenever in the API, the kind of data which is exchanged, either it is exchanged in the form of JSON or XML. XML nowadays is going outdated and everyone is using JSON. Why? Because JSON is lightweighted and JSON is always in the form of text. JSON is in the form of text, so it requires less amount of bytes. It requires less amount of memory, less bandwidth to perform that whole integration. And that is why JSON is the most popular language that is used for the exchanging of for the integration purpose. The most important language is JSON. Okay. So what is the full form of JSON? JSON, the full form is JavaScript Object Notation. And this is the most commonly used kind of the language. It's the most commonly used kind of the language for sending and receiving of the message formats between two of the systems. It could be like both of them could be like Salesforce to Salesforce or Salesforce to any third party system as well, right? That is what the importance of JSON. JSON is one of the most popular language what we generally use for transferring of the message and for receiving of the message. For entire integration purpose, for call in or for call out, we use generally JSON formats. We generally always use the JSON formats. So there are so many good advantages with JSON. JSONs are lightweighted, JSONs are text based, okay? And there's the few history related to JSON also. So the formats of the JSON are very lightweighted because they always use text for everything. Whatever is your data, if it is even an image file, if it is even an audio, video, whatever, we need to transfer it in the form of JSON. That is what the importance of the JSON. Okay. So why we are learning JSON? Because we are going to learn about the integration. हम JSON क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं? Because we are going to start with the integration, and We will be writing APIs in few of the days also. We will be learning how to write down the APIs, how to perform that call in process, call out process, everything. And that's the reason, why we are learning the JSON. So JSON format is used for the serialization and deserialization. I'll be telling you what does it means by serializing and deserializing, okay, of the data. Whenever we wanted to transmit something, whenever we wanted to receive something, that process sometimes is called a serialization process. Serialization especially for the transmitting. What is transmitting, how it is, what is does it means by serialization, we are going to see that. When we are receiving the data, we need to deserialize that. So serializing is something that is related with transmitting. What it is, we are going to learn, don't worry. I just now wanted you to make, you should understand this association. When we are transferring the data, for example, from our Salesforce organization, if we are transferring it to any of the third party system, if we are transferring it to any of the third party system, from your Salesforce organization, if you are transferring any data to a third party system, but that third party system always accept the data in JSON format. For example, if you are trying to transfer the data of account object, but in the third party system, there is nothing called as account. There is no such field as you have in the account, like name, email. Email you don't have. Name, industry, rating, annual revenue, fax, billing address, shipping address. These all are the entities of account, but that are there that are not there into this third party organization, this third party system, in the third party application. Rather, there are few more other kinds of field. So what we are doing, we are trying to transfer the data of one of the object, and we are trying to transfer the records of one of the object like account, contact, to any of the third party application. But this third party application probably is, for example, let's understand if this third party application uses some other language. It has, for example, it is built upon the Java. It is built upon what? It is built upon the Java. And what you are transferring Salesforce object data as object data. So obviously, directly we cannot transfer it. It is as good as, it is as good as, like, if this is an Indian person and this is an, for example, Chinese person. The Indian only know the Hindi. Chinese person only knows the Chinese. And they are, if they wanted to have a communication between them, how it is going to possible? Your Salesforce always use something called as S object record data type. Whereas this particular third party system is built up in Java. These are two entirely different platforms. How a message could be delivered between them, to how we can perform the integration. And that time, what we will be using, we will be using the formats of the JSON, because JSON is something that is commonly understandable by both of them. Salesforce, we use the JSON. In that third party system, that also use the JSON. JSON is that common format. Now almost 100% of the web application, almost 100% of every web services uses JSON format. There are only few outdated websites that uses XML. In 90%, or if 99%, 99, or rather 100% of the website, for any web services, whatever you use, that is built inside the JSON formats. So we will transfer this. What we will do, we will actually do what, here, how we do this. We will transfer, we will convert this account data type into JSON. We will convert this account into data type into JSON, and then we will transfer it. This process of converting as object data type into JSON, this is called as serialization. You will be learning everything, don't worry. No, right now, just make yourself to be get introduced with the terminologies, what we are going to learn in coming days. So this process of converting any as object record, it could be like account record, contact record, hiring manager, position record. The process of converting, you can write it down if you want, you can write it down. Although I will be revising everything, it would be like, when I start with the serialization, deserialization process, I will be telling that time also, but it's better. You always create your own notes. This process of converting as object record type into JSON format, that is something called as serialization. And at the end of this, and I mean, after this format has been transferred, now transferring this JSON from this from Java or something like, or let's do it in the reverse way. For example, we have this two organizations. Okay. Our organization is one of the Salesforce organization. The second one is any of, for example, it's a Java application. Our application is based on Salesforce. So our application is based on Salesforce. What we have designed, we design a application, we design an app, the Salesforce. The other we are integrating it. For example, for weather map. For example, postal code APIs. We are integrating this. We are integrating, but with that application. But that application is built up. For example, let me give you this. A more clear idea about this. So you recently built up an application in Salesforce with the name called as your Skyline Talent Acquisition, right? Skyline Talent Acquisition. So this is your application, what you have built. You built up in which technology? Salesforce. There's one more application, Weather Map API. Weather Map API. But that API is entirely built up on the Java. That is something which is built up on the Java. So these are two different platforms. These are two different programmings. These are two different formatized kind of thing. And we wanted, so when we wanted to transfer, for example, if I'm transferring a record from my Salesforce organization to this weather map, so I first of all require to, what I require to do? I first of all require to convert it from S object. I first of all require to convert it from S object data type to what? JSON. JSON. This process is called as serialization. Converting of S object data type, converting of S object record, not data type. Converting of the record of the data type S object into JSON, that is serialization. So before transmitting, what we should perform, we should always perform serialization. And let's vice versa, let's go with the vice versa possibility. Now for example, this third party, this weather map application is sending me some record, and which language is sending me? It's sending me in the JSON record. He's also giving me the response in the JSON. Okay, so conversion of that JSON to S object, conversion of that JSON to S object, that is called as deserialization. That is called as deserialization. And you are learning both over here in the integration with the programming. You will be learning both. We will be, first of all, we will do it manually, and then we will go with one of the standard classes for there, for serialization and for deserialization. We have a class, how to use that class, what is the concept of wrapper class and everything. We will be learning over. So there are two terminologies. So see, if you are transferring, you first of all should, whenever you wanted to transfer any S object record, like record of account, like record of contact, like record of any other object from the Salesforce side, you first of all require to convert it into JSON. That is something the serialization. This was about call out. When you are making call out, when you are calling external system, when you are making calling, when you are calling external system, call out, that means calling out. Or when you are performing call in, when external system is calling you, it's sending you some record. You are receiving a call, it's an incoming call. It's an incoming call. See the arrow, it's an incoming call. It's an incoming call. You are receiving some entities from the external system. So that entity is in the form of JSON. Again, you require to convert it from JSON to S object. That is deserialization. Okay, so this is what we require to, and this is what. Okay, so what are few of the characteristics with the JSON? JSON is lightweighted text based. It is easy to perform. It's literally easy to read and write, because that is you will be learning that why. So in the JSON, always remember one thing: how to write down the JSON. JSON, this is the format, a very simple format of the JSON consists of only two things: the key and the val. The key and the val. Key must always be string. Key must always be the string. It should not be the integer or any other thing. Key must always be the string. And this value could be anything. It could be a string, it could be a numerical, it could be boolean, even the array or the object also. Value could be anything. But key must and what? Key must and always be the string value. That is what the format. And whenever we write down the JSON, JSON is write it, whenever we write down the JSON, JSON must and must always be enclosed within these curly brackets, within the flower brackets, within the flower brackets. So first of all, what we are doing, what we will be doing is like, we will first of all create some of the sample JSONs, some of the sample JSON format, so that all of us, would become more comfortable in the format, would become more comfortable in writing the JSONs, and then we will be, we will be building some classes for creating the JSONs, first manually and then automatically with the help of that standard class. So let's first of all understand how we can write down the JSON. Again, how we can write down the JSON. So the available data types in the JSONs are everything, like you can, as I've told you, like you can enter the string data in the value section. What you can enter, key would always be a string. Okay. What could be the value? Value could be the string, numerical, boolean, array, and objects also. Okay, boolean, array, and objects, everything is available. So let me take some of the examples so that you could understand. Okay, you could understand like how we can write up the JSON formats. Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me change the password. Yes. So uh, for now, I will not be executing anything. So I will be writing this into execute anonymous window. And we are not actually trying to execute anything because for that we will be constructing classes later. Okay, we will be constructing classes later. In today's lecture, we are just trying to understand how we can write down the JSON formats. Okay, how we can write down the JSON formats. Now, for example, if I wanted JSON format to store customer data, we wanted to store the customer data. Okay, what could be the entities? What could be the entities? It's like customer code. What we require to store customer code would be first entity, right? Customer could be the first entity. The second entity could be annual revenue that is being generated from the or customer name, for example, okay, or few more entities like in customer address. I wanted to store a customer address. So these could be the possible entities. Whenever if I wanted to store, customer record if I wanted to store, these could be, or rather we are transferring or we are receiving, that is not the issue. अभी आप उसमें मत जाओ कि कॉल इन की या कॉल आउट की बात चल रही है, चाहे आप कॉल इन करो या कॉल आउट करो, दोनों केसेस में आपका डेटा किसमें जेसन में. तो मैं आपको समझाना चाहता हूँ कि हाउ वी कैन राइट डाउन द जेसन्स, how we can write down the JSON. Now let's treat every entity over here as to be a one of the JSON format. So every JSON format always starts and end with what? Every JSON format always starts and end with what? A curly bracket. So this is my key. This is my key. And key should always be, key is always a string. So it should always be enclosed within double inverted comma. Key should always be enclosed within double inverted. Every key, every key, every key must always be enclosed within what? Double inverted comma. Double inverted. Okay. Every key must always be enclosed within what? Within double inverted. Because keys are always string. Keys are always string. Keys are always string. ठीक है. चलो, दिस इज माई की. ठीक है. की के बाद में आपको देना पड़ता है कूलन एंड देन वैल्यू. की के बाद में क्या देना पड़ता है आपको? कूलन एंड देन वैल्यू. की के बाद में कूलन एंड देन वैल्यू. चलिए, नाउ गलत यहाँ पे कूलन शुड बी ओवर हियर, इसके अंदर नहीं, बाहर जाइए, ओवर हियर ऑल्सो लाइक दिस. ठीक है. इसके बाद मुझे यहाँ देना है वैल्यू. नाउ सी, if your value is a number, you can give it directly. For example, customer code is 2000. This is a number could be given directly. Annual revenue is also what? Decimal, integer, जो भी है, it is again a value. ठीक है. तो again I can give it directly. But customer name यहाँ पे वैल्यू क्या है आपकी? जैसे अगर मुझे लिखना है यहाँ प्रज्वल, तो दैट वैल्यू इज a string. यहाँ वैल्यू स्ट्रिंग है. अगर आप स्ट्रिंग दे रहे हो तो इट मस्ट ऑलवेज बी एनक्लोज्ड विद इन सिंगल, अगेन डबल इन्वर्टेड कॉमा. Customer address, for example, it's Nagpur, that is again a string. So when you are giving the string, it must be enclosed again with what? Double inverted comma. And if it is a number, it could be, it could be given directly. If it's a number, it could be given directly. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let me take some direct use cases for that. take some use cases for that, and with the use cases I will be explaining you that. That will be more fine. So how to write down this for array data type and everything. Okay. So define, for example, define an array to store. Right. Let me go with this use case. With this use case, what is my use case? I need to for the I need to define. I need to define one of the array, or there is an array. I need to store it. I need to store it inside the JSON format. I need to convert it into the JSON format. So how we can do that? How we can do that, for example? Okay, let's understand that also. So customer code to ho gaya. Short. For example, define an array to store the collection of, for example, country names. Okay. Okay. Let me do with this country names. चलो. So let's understand we are having one of the array. हमारे पास में एक array है. Let's understand कि we are having one of the array. Array country name. ठीक है. We are having one of the array. String array. So it's an string array. The name country name, and then I'm giving the values over here. The values are, for example, the values are USA, and then the next is, for example, India, and then next is like Nepal, and then next would be like Germany. The next would be like example Australia. Okay. So this is one of the array. This is one of the array. And now if I wanted to convert this array into JSON format, if I wanted to convert this array into JSON format, so what would be the JSON format? Define an array के बजाय prepare the JSON format for the given array. The given array. Okay. For the given array. So if your data is an array, if the data is in the form of array, अभी array में है तो उसको कैसे मैं उसके लिए JSON format इस तरह का JSON format में कैसे prepare करूँगा? चलिए. तो whenever we wanted to prepare the JSON always starts and end with what? JSON always starts and end with curly brackets. ठीक है? सबसे पहली चीज. So this is my array. This is my array, and now for this array, for this data type, the JSON format. इसका JSON format कैसा रहेगा? जब तक आपको ये क्लियर नहीं होगा ना, हम आगे नहीं बढ़ेंगे. ठीक है, डोंट वरी. तो इसका JSON format कैसा रहेगा? जब भी आप JSON लिखते हो, whenever you write down the JSON first of all starts and ends with what? Curly bracket. JSON always starts and ends with the curly bracket. तो मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा curly bracket. उसके बाद में मुझे लिखना है key. First thing was always key, because JSON जो format होता है, JSON format ऐसा होता है. The first thing is always key. ठीक है, key. और because key is always string, तो it must be enclosed within this. उसके बाद colon and then value. ठीक है, and then value. ये होता है एक नॉर्मल JSON फॉर्मेट. तो अब यहाँ पर इस पूरे अरे को मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? JSON में कन्वर्ट. तो सबसे पहले आता है मेरा की क्या है यहाँ पे? कंट्री नेम, अरे का जो नाम. तो की मस्ट ऑलवेज बी एनक्लोज विद इन व्हाट? डबल इन्वर्टेड कॉमा. सो आई एम एंटरिंग दिस कंट्री नेम. ठीक है, कंट्री नेम. दिस इज व्हाट? दिस इज माय की. उसके बाद क्या आता है? कूलन. आई हैव गिवन इट. अब देखिए, अगर इफ आई जस्ट वांटेड टू स्टोर एनी वन वैल्यू, अगर मुझे सिर्फ एक ही वैल्यू स्टोर करना होता, जैसे यूएसए स्टोर करना होता, तो मैं ऐसा दे सकता. लेकिन कंट्री नेम इज व्हाट? कंट्री नेम इज एन अरे. कंट्री नेम इज एन अरे एंड इट मस्ट हैव इट्स हैव सम मल्टीपल वैल्यूज. तो मैं डायरेक्ट ऐसा नहीं दे सकता यहाँ पे. तो अब थोड़ा सा मेरा फॉर्मेट बदल जाता है. अब मुझे क्या करना है? बिकॉज कंट्री नेम इज एन अरे, कंट्री नेम इज एन अरे, आई रिक्वायर टू ओपन एंड क्लोज दिस. आई रिक्वायर टू ओपन अ ब्रैकेट एंड देन क्लोज अ ब्रैकेट. ओपन स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट एंड क्लोजिंग स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट. और जो भी वैल्यूज है मेरी वो मैं इसके अंदर दूंगा. ठीक है, जो भी वैल्यूज है मेरी वो मैं इसके अंदर दूंगा. आई विल बी स्टोरिंग इट इनसाइड दिस वन. ठीक है, जो भी वैल्यूज है मेरी वो सारी मैं इसके अंदर दूँ. So for example, I'm having all these values USA. So my first value would be, it would be like USA. Okay, after USA, comma. After USA, comma. That comma indicates the next value. Next value would be at India. Next value would be India. After India, again comma. And then the next value. The next value is Nepal. After that, comma. Once again, comma. After that, so Nepal के बाद में Germany. After that, once again, comma. And then the last one. What is the last value? So Australia. So Australia. After that, there is no comma. There's no comma. Okay. After that, there is no comma. So this is how we prepare. This is how we prepare the JSON format for array. Any of the data type, this is array. That is what I was trying to say. Okay, in the JSONs, key is always a string. The value, value depends. It could be a string, it could be numerical. If it's a string, we need to give it again in the inverted commas. If it's a numerical, we can give it directly. For the boolean, again, you can give true or false. Boolean, you can again give true or false. But for array, कैसे लिखना तो वो आपको बताया. Next for the objects. Next for the objects, how can we write it down? That is also, let's see that also. Okay, for the objects, how we can prepare the JSON formats. Okay, so let me do with, have any example for that. With account ऐसा कुछ तो भी object लेता हूँ मैं. लीड रिकॉर्ड ये भी है, अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड, ठीक है, ये वाला. ठीक है, तो इसके लिए लेते हैं, इसको कॉपी कर लेते हैं, इसको कॉपी करते हैं और यहाँ लेके आते हैं कि इसके लिए जेसन कैसे लिखें. इसके लिए जेसन आप कैसे लिखें. So if the data type is account record, the data type is an account record. ठीक है, how would you write down the JSON? ये हो गया आपका JSON format for array data type. ये एक नॉर्मल है. नॉर्मल में अगर आपकी वैल्यू स्ट्रिंग है तो यू विल राइट इट डाउन लाइक दिस डबल इनवर्ट कॉमा. नंबर है आप डायरेक्ट दे सकते हो. अगर अरेज है तो आपको इस तरह से देना है. अब मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ कि अगर ऑब्जेक्ट है, सेल्सफोर्स का ऑब्जेक्ट है, तो उसके लिए हम जेसन कैसे प्रिपेयर करें. ठीक है, अगर सेल्सफोर्स का ऑब्जेक्ट है प्रिसाइजली, उसके लिए हम जेसन जो फॉर्मेट है वो कैसे प्रिपेयर करें. ठीक है, तो हमेशा याद रखें, जेसन ऑलवेज स्टार्ट्स एंड एंड्स विद व्हाट, करली ब्रैकेट. सबसे पहले तो यही. हियर आल्सो आई डिड द सेम थिंग. जेसन ऑलवेज स्टार्ट्स विद व्हाट, करली ब्रैकेट्स. तो ओपनिंग ब्रैकेट एंड क्लोजिंग ब्रैकेट यू रिक्वायर टू, ओपनिंग ब्रैकेट एंड क्लोजिंग ब्रैकेट, दैट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग. उसके अलावा जेसन नहीं बन सकता. अब उसके बाद, नाउ फर्स्ट थिंग इज ऑलवेज व्हाट, योर key, and key is always a string. Key is always a string, so the string must be enclosed within double inverted commas. Okay, because I'm dealing on key name, you can give anything, because I'm dealing with the account record. So what is here, I could give the things like, key name I could give like, account record, like this. After that, what, after that there's one colon, there's one colon. Okay, after that there's one colon. Now what I wanted to represent, I wanted to represent the value of the objects. I wanted to represent the value of one of the Salesforce object. If it was an array, तो मैं उसको start करता था इस तरह से, opening square bracket and the closing square bracket. But because this is an object, this is not an array, this is an object. तो object जब भी आप enter कर रहे हो ना, तो starting of the object and ending of the object are always represented by again the curly brackets. This is the difference between creating JSON for the array and creating JSON for the S object record. Creating JSON for the array record, like this is an array record, and creating JSON for the what? An object record. So when you are creating it for the object, you require to open and closing curly brackets, and in between them you require to write down the values. So, for example, I wanted to represent the name. जैसे कि मुझे ये वाली field है name. Now because name is a string, and a name is a string, so I must enclose this within double inverted comma, and then colon, and then name. For example, let's give any value. Rajpal. ठीक है. And then the second is what? The second is rating. Rating is again what? Rating is again your hot hold that. So it's a I mean it's a string value again, so rating है ना, and then third industry is again a pick list, so this must also be enclosed within the single inverted comma. Okay, industry, and for industry is for example electrical, probably banking. I don't know if this option is available in Salesforce or not. So after industry, after industry, what is that? Annual revenue, annual revenue, annual revenue. Annual revenue is a currency. Currency is also string. But see here, understand one thing. These record, these data types, based on that data type, these are also keys. These are also keys. The key must always be enclosed. Guys, please take care of your mics. Key must always be enclosed within डबल इन्वर्टेड कॉमा. ठीक है, तो उसके बाद में वैल्यूज क्या रहेगा वो हम देखते हैं उसको. वी विल सी टू दैट. फॉर एग्जांपल फॉर इट इज फोन. फोन इज व्हाट? फोन इज अगेन अ की. फोन इज अगेन अ की. बिकॉज फोन इज अगेन अ की, आई मस्ट एनक्लोज इट विद इन डबल इन्वर्टेड कॉमा. तो जितनी भी कीज है यहाँ पे, जितना भी डेटा आपने, जितने भी फील्ड्स हैं दैट यू हैव फेच्ड, ठीक है, ऑल ऑफ दैट फील्ड लेबल, all of that field labels, all of that field labels, they are what? They are the keys, and keys always must be enclosed within the double inverted commas. Okay. Type, what is the next value? Ownership. Itni values हमें transfer करनी है. Let's take this as an assumption. Ownership, these are the keys, and the active status, and then active status, this is also a key. This is also a key. So key must always be represented inside the double inverted comma. अब हम इनकी वैल्यू से बात करें. एनुअल रेवेन्यू की वैल्यू क्या है? एनुअल रेवेन्यू इज व्हाट? एनुअल रेवेन्यू इज अ नंबर, so it's a number currency. For example, this way, phone is what? Phone is a string data type. Why phone is a string data type? It has some symbols like plus, it has some symbols like dash, है ना? So that is the reason it's a string, and every string must be enclosed within this double inverted. After that, fax is also I mean, it's a string data type. Fax is also the string data type. And then type, okay, then type is also kind of string data type. For example, direct, customer direct. And then the ownership public private, this is also a string data type, so I'm enclosing that inside double inverted comma public. And active status is consists of yes or no. Again, it's what? It's a now between every I mean, after every record, I require to place what? Comma. I require to give the comma, 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 comma over here, comma over here, here. But because this is my last record, this is my last record, here rather I would not give the comma. Here I would not give the comma. So this is how you can prepare the JSON format for the objects. The JSON format for the objects. Let's try to do it, once again, so that you can make it, you would become more comfortable. Let's try to prepare it for lead object. Okay. Let's try to prepare it for the lead object. For example, we are fetching the lead, we are fetching the record of the leads with all these fields, and we wanted to send, we wanted to send this to external system. So we should convert it into JSON. That means here what we are understanding, अभी मैं आपको ये S object का data type है, इसको JSON format में convert कैसे करते हैं. That means मैं आपको serialization सिखा रहा हूँ. फिलहाल तो भी मैं आपको serialization सिखा रहा हूँ. Okay. Now every JSON format, it start and ends with what? Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. उसके बाद में give the key name. So because this is my lead record, I do one thing, मैं key का जो नाम देता हूँ, key name always be enclosed within double inverted comma. ठीक है, lead record. उसके बाद में I require to give one colon. Now because this is my object record. If it was a single record, single value होती, तो based on that, अगर integer numbers होते तो मैं ऐसे देता, अगर string होती तो ऐसे देता, अगर ये अरे होता तो मैं ओपनिंग स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट और क्लोजिंग स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट के अंदर सारी वैल्यू. बट दिस इज व्हाट? दिस इज अगेन एन ऑब्जेक्ट इटसेल्फ हैव, ऑब्जेक्ट में फिर से होता है की और वैल्यूज, बिकॉज ऑब्जेक्ट हैव फील्ड नेम एंड ऑब्जेक्ट हैव वैल्यू. ऑब्जेक्ट हैव फील्ड नेम, ऑब्जेक्ट हैव वैल्यू. ऑब्जेक्ट हैव फील्ड नेम, ऑब्जेक्ट हैव वैल्यू. फील्ड नेम, वैल्यू. फील्ड नेम इज व्हाट? की, वैल्यू, की, वैल्यू, की, वैल्यू. इसीलिए आपको ऑब्जेक्ट के लिए फिर से यू रिक्वायर टू ओपन एंड क्लोज करली ब्रैकेट्स. ठीक है, तो जैसे कि फील्ड नेम्स, एन एग्जांपल फर्स्ट नेम. सो एवरी की मस्ट बी इनक्लोज्ड विद इन that. उसके बाद values पे आएंगे, then last name, and then last name, ठीक है, okay, and then my next is company, So every key name, every field name, every key name, every field name, every key name must always be enclosed within what? Within double inverted comma. Every key name, every field name, every key name, every field name. Field names are key names. Field names are key names. Field labels, name, API name, whatever you wanted to say. They are the keys. They are the keys. And keys always be enclosed. Keys must be string. Keys must be string. Keys must always be enclosed within double inverted comma. Keys are strings. Keys are always strings. It must be enclosed within double inverted comma. ठीक है, वैल्यू अभी दिया नहीं है, वैल्यू अभी दिया नहीं है, and after we always require to give this comma here also and here also, comma, and then the rating. After rating it is what? Industry. After rating it is industry. Okay, after rating it's what? It is industry. After industry it's annual revenue. Annual revenue must be enclosed within single inverted comma and followed by cooler, and then city, Okay. So these all are my keys. These all are my keys. Now let's come to the value. First name, because it's a name, name is a string. Okay, name is a string. Okay, I must give it within the single double inverted. And then last name also is a string. Last name also is a string. Okay, company is cognizant. Okay, and then title is, for example, developer. And then phone is also a string. Okay, phone is like this. And then status, for example, is hot. Okay, the rating is hot. Status क्या होता है? Open not contacted. This is one of the status from the Salesforce. And then rating is hot. Okay. Industry is, for example, banking. Annual revenue. Now annual revenue, this is one of the value. Annual revenue is value. It's a number. It's a decimal. The annual revenues are always given directly. Every number we can give it directly like this. Now city is also a string, so it's like that. So this is how we prepare the JSON formats of the record S object, the record data. This is how we prepare the JSON format for what? For the S object record data. Records of the Salesforce object. The records of the Salesforce object. Yeah. Let me take some more examples on this. This was about only one record. Prepare the hiring manager, just do it. Prepare the JSON format to represent three opportunity records. Not one, not two, three opportunity records. Let's understand how to do that also. So here what we are doing, here we are preparing the JSON format for how many? For three opportunity records. And what are the fields? Name, amount, stage name. Okay, anyways, let's do that also. ठीक है. Yes. So every JSON must always be start and close within single. It must be enclosed within this opening and a closing curly bracket. Okay. Now I require to prepare it for. Let me first of all go with the key opportunity records. I'll consider this my key. There should be no space between that two opportunity records. After that, your colon, and then here we require to create the JSON format for how many records? For the three records. So my first record would be placed over here. My first record would be placed over here. Okay. And then after that, comma. Okay. This would be my first record, first opportunity record, and then my second record would start over here and over here. This would be my second record. After second, again I require to give the comma. And then, and then, and then. This would be the third record. After third record, there is no comma. Okay. What are the fields? Name. What are the fields? So it's like name, name, colon, name, files. And then second is amount. So within this amount, after that colon. Third is stage name. So this is my attributes of first record. Attributes of first record. Date source. And then colon. And then probability. Probability. And then colon. Okay. And then colon. So this is my first record. I'm just copying it. This is my second record. And this would be my third record. Okay. Like this, you require to prepare for multiple records of the any of the object. So let's consider the name. Okay, let's start with the name. So name would be, it's a string, so it would be like opportunity number 1. And then amount. Now because amount is something, a number, so I can give it directly like this. I can give it directly. And then a stage. Stage is your string, because it's a pick list value, so it's like prospecting. And then lead source. Lead source is like web. Again, it's a string. Probability. Probability is a number, so like it's 100%. Okay, probability is 100%. And after every record, we require to give the comma over here also, comma. But for the last, you don't require to give. Now let me just copy and paste it somewhere over here, and I'll be making that all changes whatever required, and I'm pasting it here also. So this would be like opportunity record number 2. Okay, with some other, for example, 10%, and this would be like opportunity record number 3. For example, it would be having like 40%. Okay, and you can make the changes in the data internally also. So this is how we represent multiple records. So how we started, guys? Let me take a quick revision. JSON, this is the format. This is the format of JSON. JSON always starts with opening bracket, opening and closing curly bracket, flower bracket. You need to write down the complete format of the JSON within this only. And then the first thing is the key. Key is always a string. So this must enclose within the double inverted quotes. After that, there's a colon and the value. Now, if the value is a number, if the value, the data type is integer, the data type is long, the data type is decimal, in that case, you can give it directly. If the data type, if the value is your string, you must again enclose it with what, double inverted comma. So this is the general format. Now we started, for example, how we can write it for array data type. For array data type, you require to open and close it inside what, inside your square brackets. Okay, and then 1 second. No, for array only, it should have single inverted comma. For arrays में single inverted comma रहता है. Yes, array में it must be single inverted comma. बिकॉज स्ट्रिंग है, इसलिए अगर कोई वैल्यू दूसरी होती तो अलग बात रहती. यहाँ पे सिंगल इन्वर्टेड फॉर्म है अरेज में. यस, ये ठीक है. एंड देन हाउ टू राइट डाउन, हाउ टू क्रिएट द जेसन फॉर्मेट फॉर एस ऑब्जेक्ट डेटा टाइप. तो मैंने अकाउंट के लिए लिया पहले एक रिकॉर्ड. तो जेसन जैसे हमेशा स्टार्ट एंड एंड इसमें होता है, उसके बाद में आपने की दिया. और अरे के लिए आपने ओपनिंग एंड करली, ओपनिंग एंड क्लोजिंग स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट दिया था. यहाँ पर ओपनिंग एंड क्लोजिंग करली ब्रैकेट्स दिया. उसके बाद में जितने भी फील्ड्स है, फील्ड्स आर व्हाट, फील्ड्स आर अगेन कीज, फील्ड्स आर कीज, फील्ड्स आर कीज, एंड सो दे मस्ट ऑलवेज बी एनक्लोज विद इन डबल इन्वर्टेड कॉमा. जितनी भी फील्ड्स हैं यहाँ पे सारी डबल इन्वर्टेड कॉमा. वैल्यू आपको देखना पड़ेगा. अगर वैल्यू फिर से स्ट्रिंग है तो आप उसको ऐसे दो. अगर वैल्यू आपकी नंबर है तो आप नंबर को डायरेक्टली दे सकते हो. ठीक है, लेकिन फोन स्ट्रिंग है, हाँ, नंबर को आप डायरेक्टली दे सकते हो इस तरह से. ये हो गया एक रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करना, फॉर द वन रिकॉर्ड, अगेन फॉर द वन रिकॉर्ड, अगेन विद द वन रिकॉर्ड. बट अगर मल्टीपल रिकॉर्ड्स है तो कैसे करना? तो मल्टीपल रिकॉर्ड्स है, पहला रिकॉर्ड कॉमा, दूसरा रिकॉर्ड कॉमा, तीसरा रिकॉर्ड. इस तरह से मल्टीपल रिकॉर्ड्स हम प्रिपेयर करते हैं। दिस इज हाउ टू इट। सो गो विद दिस बाय टुडे, गो विद दिस। गो विद अप टू दिस, ये पूरा पूरा करो। एंड बाय टुमारो आई विल बी यूजिंग, अब इसको डायरेक्टली कैसे करना, दिस इज, ये मैनुअल प्रोसेस था एंड मैनुअली वाई बी लर्निंग दिस, बिकॉज आपको ये फॉर्मेट याद हो जाए। ठीक है, तो यहाँ जितने भी एग्जाम्पल्स हैं सारे सारे लिखो, एंड बाकायदा लिखो, इसको लिखो इन द सेंस टाइप करो। एंड बाय टुमारो हम आपको सिखाएंगे जेसन जनरेटर क्लास, तो ये ऑटोमेटिक क्लास होती है जिससे ये सारे फॉर्मेट्स ऑटोमेटिकली जनरेट होते हैं। तो हम लोग कभी लिखते नहीं है इसको, बट हमें फॉर्मेट याद होना चाहिए, इसी की वजह, इसीलिए व्हाट वी डू, वी आई मीन वी आर राइटिंग इट, वी आर मेकिंग द प्रैक्टिस सो दैट वी कुड लर्न दी फॉर्मेट्स। ये सब जो हमने लिखा अभी, ये इसलिए लिखा ताकि हमें फॉर्मेट्स याद हो। तो डू दिस, डू मेक अ प्रैक्टिस ऑन दिस बाय टुडे itself. By tomorrow, I will be telling you कि what is the exact way how to generate it automatically, how to generate these all JSON formats automatically, कैसे generate करते हैं। There is a class called as JSON generator class, कल इस पे अपन डिस्कशन करते हैं। आज प्लीज ये सारे एग्जाम्पल जितने भी दिए हैं यहाँ पे सारे सॉल्व करके देख लें, जितने भी हैं। यस, एंड दिस विल बी योर फिक्स टाइमिंग फ्रॉम, आई टोल्ड यू दैट दिस विल बी योर फिक्स टाइमिंग। अगर मैं बाय द वे कभी चेंज करता हूँ तो मैं अनाउंस करूंगा, अदरवाइज दिस इज योर फिक्स टाइम, 5:30 एटलीस्ट। ये अभी रमजान के लिए, तो बाद में इट वुड बी लाइक 6 to 7, वो देखते हैं, उसको 5:30 भी रख सकता हूँ मैं, क्योंकि हो सकता है आगे चल के मेरे को 1.5 घंटा लगेगा। तो व्हाट आई वाज प्लानिंग कि अभी 5:30 to 6:30 ले रहा हूँ, 5:30 to 7 कर सकता हूँ मैं इसको, बिकॉज आगे चल के बड़े प्रोग्राम्स हैं, तो एक दिन में अगर एक प्रोग्राम लेना है तो इट वुड रिक्वायर लाइक वन एंड हाफ आवर प्रोबेबली। तो हो सकता है मैं यही टाइम रखूंगा, आधा घंटा और आगे बढ़ा सकता हूँ इसको, मतलब एंडिंग। ठीक है, चलो।